Hello friends, welcome to my YouTube channel MKS Tech Talks. So in my YouTube channel, you can find one playlist with the name DevOps Training Series 0 to Hero. So in this playlist, you can find the different topics like Linux, Git, Jenkins, Docker, Kubernetes, Ansible, Terraform, and AWS Cloud. So these topics I explained from basic to advanced concepts with real-time scenarios. So just to follow this playlist to become the DevOps engineer in 2 months. So this is very good opportunity. Please utilize this opportunity. So please like, share, and subscribe my YouTube channel MKS Tech Talks. Thank you.
And here check the status. So nothing to commit, working quickly, and we are working on branches, right? So these are the branches we have. And in the previous session, what we discussed is we discussed about the merge conflicts and how can we do the cherry pick. Okay, so how to merge a single commit from one branch to another branch. So these things we discussed in the previous session. Okay, so up to now, what we did is we worked on the local repo. So if you recollect, we'll have two repos, right? Local repo and a remote repo. Okay. So up to now, what we did is we worked on the local repo. So in this local repo, we have working directory, okay, staging area, local repository. Similarly, we'll have remote repo also. Okay, so once we have code in the local repo, what we have to do is we have to move this code to the remote repo. Okay, so that is what next we are going to do. So, so we worked on working directory, staging area, okay, and local local repo. Okay, now we know how to process all these stages. Okay, so how to move the code from one stage to another stage, all these things we know. And how we can create the branches, how to mesh the branches, these things we already discussed now. So what we have to do is once we have code in the local repo, we have to move this code to the remote repo. That is what we have to. Okay, so from local repo we have to move the code to the remote repo. So we already discussed it, right? So to move the code from local repo to remote repo, we are going to use some commands like git push, and to get the code from remote repo to local repo, we'll use a git pull command. Okay, so like these commands we'll use, right? So here now, so if we want to work with the remote repo, we need remote repo account. So here the remote repo is like github.com. So github.com. So www.github.com. This is one of the remote repo. Similarly, we'll have bitbucket.com. So like that. Okay. So we'll have bitbucket.com like that. We'll have different SCM repositories, remote repositories. Okay. Now what we are going to do is we are going to create um, account in the github.com, and we'll try to push the code from our local repo to the remote repo. So in our local repo, what we have, so we can see git log hyphen hyphen one line. So these are the commit IDs we have. All the commit IDs we are trying to move to the remote repository. That is what we are trying to do. Okay. So now we have to create the account in the github.com. So for this, go to the github.com. So github.com, this is the page. So for the first time, you have to create the account in this page. Okay. So I'm pinging here. So go to this website, create your own account. So okay, first of all, we have to create the account. Okay. So github.com. This is the page. And so go to github.com. Now I already have account. I'm not going to sign in. Just I'm signing in because I already have account. Okay. So okay, so this is how the github.com UI looks like. Here you can see the settings on the right top right. You can see the different options, our profile information. Okay, so settings information, all these informations will be available on the right top side. And so we can find the repositories, all the repositories details on the left side. You see, so I have many repositories here. Okay, so you can see all of my repositories on the left side. You can see, so many repositories are there here. Okay, so like this, we can create a single repository for one project. Okay, so for one project, we can create one repository and we can work on that particular repository to deploy the code for that particular project. Okay, so means so if we want to work on our project, right, what we have to do is we have to create the new repository. Okay, so how to create the new repository? So this is, so whatever the UI we are seeing is, this is the remote repo. This is the remote repo, github.com. So under github.com, for every project, we need a separate repository. Okay. So under github.com, for every project, we need a separate repository. So for that reason, so if we want to move the code, so we have some code in our local, right? We have something, right? So if we want to move this to our GitHub, so first of all, we have to create one repository. After creating the repository, we can move our files to the new repository. That is what we have to do. Okay, so for that what we have to do is on the left side you can see new option. So click on new option and we have to give the repository name. So I'm giving repository name as MKSIT. So today's date I'm giving. So 090625. So this is the repository name I'm giving. So in the real time, we'll give this repository name depending on our project structure. Okay. So by following the project structure, we can give the repository name. Okay. So after this description, we can give some description about the project. This is my first project. Okay, and public private, we have to choose which type of repository it is. So if it is a public repository, anyone on the internet can see this repository. So anyone can access the content from this particular repository. So if it is a private repository, we can create a private repository also. So once we create a private repository, we can decide who can commit, who can access the content from this particular repository. So as of now, I'm selecting public repo only and initialize this repository with admin file. Okay, so as of now, whatever the repository we are creating, right, this will be the empty repository. So if I add a readme file, so the readme file will be added in our repository. This is the default means. So we can, if we need, we can add this readme file. Okay, so it is not necessary to add the readme file, but as it is an empty repository, I'm selecting a readme file. Okay, so for add git ignore file, if you need, we can add the git ignore file also. As of now, I'm not going. And so if we have any license, okay, so we can use the license. So these are the things we have to choose. So what we have chosen, we have given repository name, we have chosen public or private, and we have added a readme file. These things we did on the remote repository and create the repository. On the bottom, you can see create repository. Click on create repository. So one repository got created. What is the repository name? So this is the MKS ID 090625. This is the repository name. So you see, we have README file here. So except README file, we don't have anything. Nothing is there. Okay. Now, so we created one empty remote repository. So if we want to push our files from our local to this particular repository, what we have to do is, first of all, we have to add the repositories to the local. We have to add the remote repositories to the local. Then only we can push our code from the local repo to the remote repository. Okay. So to add the to check whether what are the remote repositories added in our local, so we can use git remote -v. This is the command. So what this command will do? So it will show list of remote repos. It will show list of remote repos added to local. Okay, it will show list of remote repos added to the local. Now check what are the repos added to our local. So here, so git remote we nothing is there. It is not giving anything. Means as of now, we didn't added any remote repos to our local repo. That is the meaning. Okay. So if we want to add any remote repository, we can add the remote repositories. That is also possible. So here, before adding the remote repositories, what we have to do is, so why we are adding the remote repositories? Our purpose is whatever the files we have in our local repository, these files we have to move to the remote repository. That is the purpose, right? So if we want to push our changes to the remote repository, so we have to generate personal access token. Okay, so we have to generate personal access token to work with the remote repositories. We're calling as the PAT. PAT is nothing but personal access token. Personal access token. Okay. So how to create this personal access token? So to create this personal access token, so go to our project, that is our repository. Go to the github.com, go to the repository. So for every repository, okay, here one thing. So just to go to the settings, here you can see settings here on the right top settings, and on the left side, right, you can see developer settings. Okay, on the left side you see we have developer settings at the end. So click on developer settings. You can see, so personal access tokens. So click on the drop down, so token classic, so take the classic tokens. Okay, so just I'm trying to create the classic token. So now, so what I'm doing is generate a new token. So I'm trying to generate one new token. Mm, Generate new token classic. Okay, so just take the for general purpose, general use only I'm taking. Okay, so the classic token I'm taking. So here, what is this token for? I'm using just it is like a token name. I'm giving. So for my token today's date I'm giving. So for 090625. So here expiration is in, you can see 30 days expiration. Means after 30 days, this token will not work. 7 days, 30 days, 60 days like this, you can see. So I'm selecting 30 days for this particular token and select scope. Scope means, so by using this token, what actions we can perform. So that thing we have to select. Okay. So just select everything because we are not doing any means this particular repository will not have any confidential information, right? We can perform any activity, no need to bother. Okay, just I am selecting, I want to delete the repo, I want to write something into the repo, I want admin access on the repo. So everything I'm selecting. Okay, so like that, so everything I'm selecting in this particular repository. Okay, so now generate token, click on generate token. So this token, what we have to do is click on the generate token. So this is the token. You see, this is the token. Copy this. So from the next time onwards, um, we cannot see this token. Okay, so just copy the token, and we can use this particular token. This is the confidential token. No need to show to any one persons. Okay, this is the token I have. Okay, so this is a pat token. Pat token with 30 days expiry. This expiry I created. So you can create with no expiry also. It is up to you. Okay. So I generated my token. Now once we have the token, right? So go here, go to the home. Okay. Now what is our repository? Our repository is today's date, right? 0906. So just search here. We can get our repository details. Okay. Okay. So now this with the particular repository is empty repository. Now, so if we want to work with the remote repositories, right, we need repo URL. We need repo URL for every repository. You see, for every repository, there will be one repo URL. So how to get that repo URL? So to get the repo URL, click the repository on the right side, right? You can see code option. Here you can see in the drop down, you can see the URL. This is the URL: HTTPS, SSH, GitHub CLI. So these URLs, so you can see here. Okay. So HTTPS, just we can use this particular URL to work with our remote repositories. Okay. And similarly, if you see, so if the number of branches on the remote repo also we can access. How to access the remote number of branches on the remote repositories? So you see, this particular repository has 3 branches. This is the old repository. This is not the repository which we created now. So this repository has 3 branches. What are the branches? Main is one branch. This is the default branch on the remote repository. So master branch, sprint one branch. So like that we have three branches. So if you want to move to master branch, we can we have to click on the master branch. So once we clicked on master branch, we can see all the files, whatever the files we have on the master branch. So all the files we can see. So similarly on sprint one branch. So if you want to check what are the files we have on the sprint one branch, click on the sprint one. So you can see all the files, whatever the files we have on the sprint one branch. Okay. So this is how we can switch the branches and the remote repositories. Okay. So any doubts up to now?
No, sir, it's good. It's good.
Okay. So like this, we can work on the remote repositories. Now, if we want to work with our remote repository, what we have to do is we have to add our remote repository to the local, right? So to add our remote repository with our local, we need our repo URL. Get the repo URL. So go here. So copy this HTTPS link. This is the link. Okay. So copy this. Then so what we can do is we have to add this repository first of all. Okay. So git remote add. Okay. So to add our remote repository, the command is git remote add. So for that particular remote repo, we have to give some name in the local. I'm giving R1 as the local repo name. We can give any name here. Okay. So git remote add local repo name and remote repo URL. Remote repo URL. This is how we can add our remote repositories. Okay. So to add the remote repositories to the local, the command is git remote add. Okay. R1 is the local repo name and this is the URL, remote repo URL. So try to execute this command. So as of now, we don't have any remote repositories, right? So git remote -v, nothing is there. So git remote and okay. So I'm giving sorry the local name as R1. We can give anything. Okay, so just I'm giving R1 as my local repo name for this particular remote repository. Then remote repo URL. Get the remote repo URL. So go to our repository, copy this. So use this. Okay. So this is how we can add the remote repositories. Git remote add R1 repo URL. So check this one. Now again check git remote -v. So earlier we are not able to see any repositories in our local, right? Now you see we have R1 repository added. With the R1 repository, we can fetch the details from remote repository and we can push the details to the remote repository. These operations we can perform onto the remote repository. Okay, so similarly try to add some more repositories. So take one of the old repository. So I have many repositories, right? I have one Terraform repository also there. Generate AI. Just I am taking ARSR repository. Okay, this is the project we are going to work, right? So just I'm taking this particular repository. Okay, so here I can add this repo also. I can add this repo also to my local. So how to add? So again, git remote and so R2. I'm giving repo name as R2 and URL. Now check the repositories. So we have R1 repo, R2 repo, both the repositories added. Okay. So in this way, we can add multiple remote repositories. We can add multiple remote repositories here. Okay. So now, so once we added our repositories, what we can do is we can push our local repo files to the remote repository. Okay, so if you want to push the changes from local repo to the remote repository, we can use git push command. Okay, so by using the git push command, we can push the changes. So git push. Okay, so here we have to mention which repo. So we have in the local we have many repos, right? So in the local we have R1 repo, R2 repo, right? So to which repo we are trying to push, that is what we have to mention here. Git push. Okay, so R1 represent the remote repo. So to which remote repo we are trying to push, and the branch master means I'm trying to push the master branch. Okay, so to push the uh, local code to the remote, right, we can use git push R1 master. The syntax is git push. So URL remote repo URL. We can give URL or we can give the local name. Okay, so for the URL we have given local name as R1. Okay, so remote repo URL or local name, anything we can give, and branch. Which branch? Branch. Okay, so now try to push the changes. So before pushing, check here. So go to our repository. So what is our repository? So go to the repository. So 0906, go to the 0906 repository, 0906. So in this repository, so nothing is there. Nothing is there. And how many branches we have? See how many branches? Only one branch. Main, this is the default branch.
One branch.
Default branch. So now what we are trying to do is we are trying to push our master branch. What are the branches we have in our local? So git branch, check the list of branches. We have master branch, feature 1, feature 2, like this. So we have different branches. Okay. So now, so out of this, I'm trying to push master branch. So I can use git push Okay. So R1 repo to the R1 repo. Okay. R1 is our new repository in the remote. Okay. So from the master branch, master R1 master. Okay. Git push origin master. So username. What is this username? This username is our GitHub account username. So gmail.com. This is my username and password. So password here is the personal access token. We got personal access token, right? So that personal access token we have to use. This personal access token we have to use as the password. Okay, the normal password will not work here. Okay, we have to use personal access token only. So password will not be visible. So copy and paste. Okay, password will not be visible. So check this. You see now 100% we moved our code from our local repo to the remote repo. Okay. So from master to master branch, we push a new branch created on the remote repository. Okay. So now go to the remote repository. You see, so master had recent pushes on June 9. Okay. Master had recent pushes on June 9th. Just we pushed our mm, branch, master branch. Now just refresh this. So as of now, only one branch it is showing, right? Just refresh the page. You see how many branches we have now? Two branches. One is main branch, and the main branch nothing is there. We have only readme file. And on the master branch, what we have? We have all the files whatever we have on our local repo. On the local repo, see what are the files we have? So 1, 2, 3, 4 files we have. So 4 files. You can see 4 files here also in the remote repo also. And remote repo also we can see 4 files. So this is how. So this is how we can push our changes from local to the remote repository. Okay. So for any doubts up to now? Any doubts, Madhav? Okay. So as we pushed our changes to the remote repository, so in the same way, every team member has to push the changes to the remote repository. Okay, so every team member has to push the changes to the remote repository. And here one more thing, you can see create a pull request for master. What is the meaning of this pull request? So in the real time, so we already discussed, right? So in our case, we directly push it to the master branch, but in real time we cannot push. It is not recommended to push our changes to the master branch. Okay, so always the code changes will happen on the feature branch. Okay, so on the feature branch only we are going to push the changes, and after pushing the changes onto the feature branch, okay, so we are going to create the pull request to merge our feature branch with the master branch. So that is what going to happen in the real time. We are not going to push the changes directly into the master branch. Okay, so we'll push the changes into the feature branch, and we'll create the pull request. Okay, so to merge our changes from the feature branch to the master branch. Okay, so this pull request has to be approved by the lead. So dev lead, whoever he is. Okay, so after approving, then only the feature branch will be merged with the master branch. After that only our changes will be available on the master branch. So this is what is going to happen in the real time. Okay. So now we pushed our changes to the master branch. Okay. So here now on the remote repo, if we want to modify any files, so that is also possible. We can modify the files, we can create the new files also. So if you want to create a new file, you can see add file option. Okay, so you can see add file option. So create new file, upload files. If we have files in our local, we can upload the files, or we can create the new file also. Okay, you can see create new file option. Okay, so create new file option. So I'm trying to create new file. So your name your file. So new file name we have to give. So I'm giving remote file today's date 0906 I'm giving. Okay, so remote file 0906, and so just I'm giving something here. Right. So this is the new file created on remote repo. Remote repo. This is a new file created on a remote repo. Okay. So this is how we can add the files on the remote repo itself. Once we added the files, we have to commit the changes. So you can see the commit option here on the right side, commit changes option. Click on commit. So it commit directly to the master branch. Okay. So we can create the pull request or we can directly commit. I'm committing the changes directly. So now here is a remote file 0906 appeared. New file, this is a new file appeared on the remote repository. Okay. So similarly, if we want to modify the existing file, so that is also possible. So to modify the existing file, go here and just I'm trying to modify file one. So you can see edit option. Okay, so you can see edit, download, copy. Okay, so like this, different options you can see. Edit. I'm trying to edit this. So so this file edited on remote repo. Just I'm adding something. Okay. So once we edited the existing file, that changes also we have to commit. Okay. So to commit the changes, we can see commit changes message. Click on commit changes. Okay. So you can see now this particular branch has, okay, so some more commits here. Okay. So file one just now had one commit. Okay, so remote file 1 minute ago it had one commit. Okay, so like that. So we can see everything here. You can see everything here. Okay, so now so I pushed master branch, right? Similarly, what other branches I have in my local? So in my local I have other branches also. So what are the other branches I have? So as of now I pushed master branch only. Okay, and I have other branches also, git branch. So feature one, feature two branches also I have. So if you want to push feature one branch, I can push the feature one branch also. So how to push the feature one branch? So just use git push command. Git push. So R1 feature one. R1 is our remote branch name. Okay, R1 we have given some shortcut to our remote branch. We have given some shortcut as R1. Okay, this R1 represent remote repo URL. Okay. So git push R1. So feature one, I'm trying to add feature one branch. I'm trying to push to my remote repository. As of now, I push the master branch only. Now I'm trying to push feature one branch. So username. Okay. So here password. Password is always our personal access token, right? So use this personal access token. Okay, you see feature one branch got pushed to the remote repository. Now go to the remote repository, refresh this page. You see, as of now we have two branches only, right? So refresh this page. You can see third branch. You see, we have three branches. Three branches. What are the three branches? Main branch, feature one branch, master branch. Similarly, try to push feature two branch also. So I have feature two branch also. Try to push feature two branch also. So use the personal access token. Okay, so feature 2 branch also we pushed. Now you can see the feature 2 branch also on the remote repository. So go to the remote repository. So just refresh here. We have 3 branches only, right? So refresh, you can get 4 branches. 4 branches. What are the 4 branches? So you see main branch, feature 1, feature 2, master. These 4 branches we have. So go to the feature 1 branch. So on feature 1 branch, so these are the files we have. Okay, so like that on every branch, whatever the files we have, right? We can check all the files from the remote repository itself. Okay, so now here I have main branch also, and have main branch also. On this main branch, what I have, nothing is the only readme file I have. I'm trying to add one more file here. Okay, I'm trying to add one more file. So create new file. So just I'm giving so my file one, this is the file name I'm giving. So just I'm trying to add one more file on my main branch. This is new file added on main branch. Main branch. Okay. So commit the changes. Commit the changes. So I committed the changes. Okay. So like that on every branch we can do the changes. We can commit the changes. Okay. So now, so here I have this. Okay. And if I want to pull anything from the remote repo, right, I can use git pull command. So git pull. Okay. Shit. So we have to give git pull. We have repo URL we have to give. Just I'm giving R1. Okay. So branch is main. I'm giving main. Okay. Main branch I'm trying to pull. Okay. So specify how to. Something is wrong, right? Yeah. Okay, what is the problem here? Git pull R1 main. So main branch we don't have in a local, right? So try to pull some other branch. Git pull master. Okay, you see, master branch got pulled here. Master branch got pulled here. Okay, so in the master branch, we created one new file on the remote repo, if you remember. So on the master branch, go to the master branch. So we created one remote file. We created one remote file. Okay, and we modified file one. These two are the changes on the master branch we have. Okay, so you can see the changes in the local repo because we pulled our changes. Okay, so now check ls. You see remote file. How we got this remote file? So this file we created on the remote repository as we pulled our changes. Okay, so we are able to see this remote file in the local repository. Okay, so you can cat this remote file also. Cat remote file. This is the new file created on remote repo. Okay, the new file created on remote repo. So in this way, so we can pull the changes from the remote repo to the local repo by using the git pull command. Okay, so what is the command we used? So git pull, so git pull remote repo URL. Okay, git pull remote repo URL. So branch name, which branch we have to pull? That particular branch name we have to get. Okay, so any doubts up to now? Any doubts here?
Oh no, sir.
Okay, so now similarly we can pull any branches. Okay, so earlier we pulled master branch, right? Just I'm trying to pull feature one branch. Feature one branch I'm trying to pull. Okay, we have to go to the feature one branch. Hit checkout. Okay, so whenever we are trying to pull any branch, we have to be on the same branch. Just remember. Okay, so we have to go to the feature one branch, then only we can pull the feature one branch. So earlier we are already on a master branch. That's why we are able to pull the master branch. You can see Git branch here. So we are already on master branch. That is the reason why we are able to pull the master branch from the remote repository. If you want to pull feature one branch, we have to go to the feature one branch, and from feature one branch we have to execute git pull command. Okay, so now here, so here up to now what we did is so we pushed our code, right? We pushed our changes, okay, from our local to the remote repo, from our local to the remote repo, and from remote to the local, if you want to pull, we can use git pull command. Okay, similarly we have git clone command. Okay, so we have git clone command, git clone, and git fetch. Okay, so these are the other commands we can use while working with the remote repository. Git clone remote repo URL. Okay, so git fetch. So git fetch. So remote repo URL we can give remote repo URL. Okay, so git fetch remote repo URL. So by using these commands, so we can clone, we can fetch the changes from the remote repository. Okay, so what this git clone command will do is, so what we did with the git pull command, what this git pull command did. So if you see, so we executed git pull command, right? Git pull master we executed, right? So git pull r1 master we executed, right? What this did, so from the master branch, so whatever the changes we have in the remote repository compared to the local repository, that changes will be pulled. Okay, but what this clone will do is, so this clone command, what this clone command will do is, whatever the files we have on the remote repo, all the files are going to be cloned into our local repo. Okay, so there will be slight difference between git pull and git clone. So what this git pull will do, so git pull command, so this is important, don't get confused. So git pull command will pull changes from remote repo to local repo, and it will merge the changes with local repo. This is what git pull command is doing. Okay, similarly we have git clone command. So what this git clone command will do is, so this git, whenever we execute git clone command, okay, so it will clone everything. Okay, so it will clone everything, okay, everything from remote repo to local repo. This is one time action only. This is one time action only. Okay, so one time action means, let us consider we have three members in our team who are working from long time. Okay, so newly fourth team member joined. So as for the three members, they are already old, right? They will have some code in their local repo. Okay, so if one team member want to know the changes done by other team member, so they can use git pull command. What this git pull command is doing, it will it will it will show the changes between the local repo and remote repo, and only the changes will be merged into the local repo. That is what git pull is doing. But if the fourth team member come into our team, okay, so the fourth team member who is new to the team will not have any code in his local. In that case, he cannot use git pull command. What he had to do? He have to use git clone command. Okay, he has to use git clone command. So by using this git clone command only, so he can get the complete code from the remote repository to the local repository. So once he executed git clone command, he can do code changes in his local. He can, as usual, push the changes. From the next time, he cannot use clone command. For only for the first time, he has to use clone command. Okay, from the next time he has to use pull command. Okay, from the next time he has to use pull command. That is the difference between git pull and git clone. Git clone is like a one-time action only. For the first time only, we are going to use git pull command, git clone command. What this git clone command will do is, when we execute git clone command, the complete remote repo will be copied into our local repository. That is what it is going to happen. Okay, so similarly we have git fetch command. So what this git fetch command will do is, so here, so it is similar to the git pull command. So what this git pull command will do? So the git pull command will pull changes from remote repo to local repo, and it will merge the changes, right? Okay. So it will, whereas in the case of git fetch command, so it will show changes between remote repo and local repo. Okay, it will show changes between remote repo and local repo. Just it will show, and it is not going to merge the changes. Whereas git pull command will show the changes and it will merge the changes to the local. So that is the difference between git pull and git fetch command. Okay. So these are the commands mostly we are going to use while working on the Git. We completed most of the Git part. Okay. Next, what we are going to do is, as once our code is ready on the remote repo, okay, once our code is ready on the remote repo, next what we have to do is, we have to work onto the code. We have to build the code. Okay, we have to build the code. So to build the code, what we are going to do? So we are going to use the CI/CD tools. Okay, by using the CI/CD tools. So what are the code we have here, right? Okay, so what are the code we have in our remote repository? So this code we have to build. So to build the code, we are going to use a CI/CD tools. Okay, so by using the CI/CD tools, we are going to create CI/CD pipelines. We can automate the build. So we'll see all these things in the coming sessions. Okay. So in our case, so we are going to discuss about the Jenkins. Okay, so Jenkins is one of the popular CI/CD tool. So with the help of the Jenkins, what we are going to do next is, so the code, whatever the code we have in our GitHub repo, right? So we'll take that code and we'll work on to the code. For this, we are using some code here. So